The Home Secretary, Theresa May, has apologised to child sex abuse victims for the delays in starting the inquiry into historical allegations. Last week, the Lord Mayor of London, Fiona Woolf, resigned as chair of the inquiry 3 months after the first appointee, Lady Butler-Sloss, stepped down. Both resigned after criticism of their links to the political establishment. Speaking in the Commons, Mrs May admitted it won't be straightforward to find a new chair, but told victims the government was determined to get the truth.
We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to do something that is hugely important. Together, we can expose what has gone wrong in the past. We can prevent it going wrong in the future. We can make sure people who thought they were beyond the reach of the law face justice. We can do everything possible to save vulnerable young children from the appalling abuse that you suffered and endured.
The Home Secretary will have a meeting with survivors of abuse next week and discuss any proposed appointments with the Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and the Labour MP Keith Vaz, who chairs the Home Affairs Select Committee. There'd also be a pre-appointment hearing with Mr Vaz's committee. And Keith Vaz joins us now. Thanks for coming on the programme.
It's a pleasure.
Mr Vaz, so Theresa May has apologised then that the inquiry still doesn't have a chair. Is this acceptable? Is that enough for you?
Well, this has been a chaotic process. It's been extraordinarily flawed, both in terms of the first appointment and the second, as well as the process that has been adopted. Now, for the first time, we are getting to a situation where we have a process that people can buy into, the victims, Parliament, other stakeholders, where people are consulted first, where people are asked what their views are, and then a decision is made. Of course, the Select Committee will be conducting the pre-appointment hearing, but we need to also be clear that we want the widest possible consultation to go on, exactly like we had over the Levinson inquiry, where Parliament and others were consulted by the Prime Minister before he made his decision. And that is the right thing to do. This should have happened at the beginning. I'm sorry it's taken the Home Secretary so long, but today she was, as you say, both in a sober statement and in a statement which was greeted with silence in the House, as well as an apologetic statement. She has drawn a line, I feel, over the failures of the past and put the victims first. And this is, of course, exactly what should have happened in July.
July, as you mentioned, the length of time that it's taken to. Are we, though, creating another layer of bureaucracy? Your inquiry will now have to approve this new chair. Sorry, your committee will have to approve this new chair of the inquiry, which seems to add another layer to it.
Well, we've been accused of many things in our history, but never of being bureaucratic. We don't tend to like dealing with papers. If you've ever watched our hearings, we like to have the person sitting in front of us and getting answers from them. We have done these appointments before. We will listen to what the Home Secretary has to say. I think she's right to consult. It's very sensible, the pathway that she has set out today. And we will then have a hearing, and then we will produce a report very, very quickly, because we don't want to delay things. My worry at the moment is, although she's set an ambitious timetable for the panel, it seems still to be the Home Office is in charge. She's decided that there should be meetings every Wednesday until Christmas. She has decided exactly what's going to happen. And I think it's important that they decide all this, and that's why I was keen to see an interim chair from amongst the committee being appointed. She wasn't against the idea, but I think it's important that they get some kind of order into the proceedings, and if they do that, then I think that the roadmap that she's put forward today is very sensible and one that we can buy into. But of course it's fraught with difficulties. It is not an easy task for the Home Affairs Select Committee to... We're not looking with glee at drinking from the poison chalice.
She did say...
We will try and handle it with great care.
She did say, though, that she had already met MPs who were representing some of the areas where these victims had come from. So she has said that she's discussed that already. What more can you do to push this forward now? And how confident are you that we will have a chair in place in the not-too-distant future?
Well, I'm very pleased. I think she's met them. I think she spoke to them on the phone. She spoke to me on the phone on Friday. This is the right thing to do. This is what the Home Secretary needed to have done, and I think that she has managed to understand the importance of involving Parliament and all this, and that's absolutely right. Full marks for doing that. What we've got to do next is I have asked her to come before the committee on Monday, along with the Wanderless and Witham, the authors of the Wanderless and Witham report, this report into the missing 144 Home Office files, and the survivors, to be able to give us a steer as to what they would like us to do. It's an extra session because we all have to work extra hard in order to make sure that we get things moving and get things right. But I think it's the right thing to do, and I am keen that we should do this as soon as possible.
OK, Keith Baz, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It's 23 minutes past 5. The International Olympic Committee